Baratza heard your feedback. They heard all of us coffee geeks and coffee nerds talking about how we wanted to be able to grind espresso with an automatic grinder. Well, now they've re-engineered the Encore line and introduced this brand new Encore ESP. They've gotten it almost perfect for grinding espresso and grinding coffee for many other beverage types. So how good is it? We're going to talk about it today on FrenchPressCoffee.com. All right, first let's get some of the slightly more boring stuff out of the way and just talk about the design, the materials, the overall layout of the Baratza Encore ESP. The device is 12 inches by 35 inches by 16 inches, so it's pretty much the same as other Encore grinders that we've talked about here on the channel in the past. It's got very much the same design with a plastic outer shell. Right now at the making of this video, there are two colors available, and that's the white that I have here on the table today and black as well. It's not a very large device. It weighs about as much as what we've been used to with previous Encore grinders. It should fit very easily onto your countertop. Isn't going to take up a whole lot of space. It's going to come with just a few very specific things that you'll find in the box. We've already got them right here on the table. Again, you have the grinder itself, you have your bean hopper, your grounds catch cup for catching all of your coffee grounds when you're grinding for standard beverages. Something that's new with the ESP is that it comes with this new Espresso Catch cup, and we'll talk about that a little later. You're also going to find some adjustment shims for the burrs in the device, and this is a very big part of what makes the ESP in the Encore ESP. And then you'll find a cleaning brush. And that's pretty much it. It's a very easy device to use, so let's talk about how it works. Now, before we jump into showing you how to grind with the new Baratza Encore ESP, we need to make mention of the most important new upgraded feature in this device. And that is going to be the introduction of a new burr system on the inside. And an awesome new gasket system as well. May seem like something that's a little geeky, but you know, we are geeks here at FrenchPressCoffee.com, and I'm going to geek out about this gasket because I think it's a really big deal. Now, first of all, I've removed the inner burr ring and taken it out of the device. This is really easy to do. This makes it really easy to clean. And one of the things that you may notice if you've been following along with us here on our channel for a while, we've talked about the gaskets that are used in the Encore line of grinders, and I've got one right here. And previously, these were very hard to place on top of your outer burr ring. It took a lot of kind of finagling because there's these two little cut marks right here and you had to line it up and stretch it. It was a little hard to do, and I think that Baratza heard all of us talking about this because they introduced this new gasket, which is super easy to use. It just simply slides inside of the inner burr ring, and that's it. You're ready to go. This is a big, big deal. I think this is going to make it a lot easier to clean the device and use it because that gasket is important. It does ensure that you get a consistent grind. It keeps excess grinds from making their way through when they shouldn't, keeps the device clean, and etc. But being able to take that gasket out a lot more easily, it's a big deal. So thank you, Baratza. I really appreciate that. Speaking about burrs, I need to make mention, of course, of the inner burr. Now, this is the brand new M2 Burr, and what's special about this is it's going to allow you to be able to grind for a great espresso grind using the Baratza Encore ESP. Another thing that's really cool about this is it's much more easy to remove than previous designs. You've probably seen a lot of videos, including ones from us, where we've talked about how to get that burr out if you need to clean it or maybe replace it, and it was very difficult. It's a lot easier now. You're going to notice that on top of the M2 Burr is this small plastic sort of handle. Now, on top of that, you're going to find a lock and an unlock icon, and this is going to tell you, along with these little arrows, how to turn this in order to loosen it and then remove the burr. You may need a pair of pliers to loosen this at first when you get it from factory spec because it is going to be pretty tight, we found, but with a little bit of just a quick turn, you'll find that you can loosen this up, take this off, then it's super easy to remove that inner M2 burr. Be careful because it's going to be sharp, but you can see how easily I was able to remove this. The other cool part about this is it will allow you to make use of those two metal shims that I mentioned earlier, which is going to allow you to even more greatly adjust your grind, and we'll talk about how to make use of those shims and grind with that in another video. And let's talk real quickly about the specs of these burrs. First of all, you're going to be able to grind about 1.4 to 2.5 grams of coffee per second, depending on the setting that you make, using the adjustment ring on the outside of the device. This is a 40 millimeter M2 Burr. Again, it's the new M2. It's been redesigned, great for espresso. Because this device is going to be great for espresso, you're also going to be able to grind for many other beverage types, including our favorite, French press, AeroPress, Hario V2, pour over, and etc. And speaking to how you will adjust for those types of grinds, you've got 40 steps of adjustment, starting with 0 over here on my right-hand side, and then moving all the way to 40 on the outer ring, and stepping up, going from very fine to more coarse with the device as you turn the bean hopper on top of it. Now, before we move on to the part that I know you want to see, which is grinding some coffee with the Baratza Encore ESP, we have a favor to ask everyone out there in TV land, as it were. Now, it takes a lot of work to make the videos that you see here on our channel. We've been doing it for quite some time, and we're really grateful to everyone who has tuned in, subscribed, and followed us on our journey of showing you how to make great coffee with a range of awesome devices here at FrenchPressCoffee.com. But because it takes so much work and time and research, and I'm going to start crying. No, I'm not. I won't start crying. But because it takes so much time, we've got a favor to ask, as I say, and that is please subscribe to our channel, turn on our notifications so you know when we release new videos, and make sure to get in touch in the comments. Check out our other videos, hit that like button, and even better, get in touch with us at FrenchPressCoffee.com. We really appreciate your support. We're so grateful that you're here with us watching as we introduce great devices like the Baratza Encore ESP, and let's move on and show you how to grind with it. And drum roll, the part that you've been waiting for, which is how to grind with the Baratza Encore ESP. We're actually going to show you how to grind for espresso using the device because, of course, that's what's in the name is ESP. We've got our ESP listed right here on the adjustment ring on the top. So we're going to make use of the Baratza Gear single serve dosing coffee bean hopper. And this is how we're going to grind our espresso, but I don't have any beans. They always listen to me here, and they always try to take me out, but they haven't yet, everyone. You just stay tuned, and they probably will someday. I'm going to get hit in the head with a bag of beans, and it'll just be a whole thing. Anyway, let's talk about grinding some espresso. Now, I'm going to take some of these awesome Red Rock Roasters beans that I've got right here, and I've placed my single-serve dosing cup right here, my bean hopper, on top. I can't use this sitting on the table because the beans would fall through the bottom. Remember that. But you can measure out your beans using the top of it. And we don't need to grind too much today because we're grinding for espresso. Quick tip before we start grinding for you, and you may have seen this one on our channel before, add a couple drops of water directly to your beans and your bean hopper and then stir those up before you start grinding. If you do that, you'll cut down on the amount of static that builds up inside of the device, and that way you're not going to get coffee grounds everywhere. Baratza suggests using about 15 steps on the adjustment scale for grinding for espresso, so we're going to go ahead and use their suggestion. So I've turned my bean hopper all the way towards 0, and now I'm going to line up with the 10 mark, which is also incidentally pointing right at ESP on the adjustment. Now I'm going to turn all the way to 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you noticed how I counted very slowly there to reach 15 from the 10 mark, and that's because when you're adjusting within the ESP range on this device, you're going to be adjusting in very small increments until you get up to the halfway mark at about 20. That's because your burrs are going to be much more close together. Once you reach the 20 mark and you start to go up from there, the offset, the space between those burrs is going to increase incrementally much more, and so that way you're going to get a much more coarse ground. Again, we're grinding for espresso, so we're aiming for that 15 mark here on the device. So I've done that. Now the last step is I need to replace my catch cup. I've got my big one, but I'm going to go ahead and use my Espresso Catch cup because this also fits very easily into an espresso portafilter. So if you have a full-on espresso machine with a portafilter at home, this will sit right into it, and we'll show you that in just a moment. So what I've done is I've removed my catch cup. I've placed this little tray right here into the device, which also has a little divot in it, which is where my Espresso Catch cup will fit. So I'll place that right there. Now that I've done so, I can get to the fun part, what you've been waiting for, which is grinding. The power switch is right here on the side of the device. It's my left-hand side, and it's very easy to use because there's only two settings, off and on. So now I'm just going to go ahead and flip the device to on and let it do its thing. Damn it. All right, one more time. Just, just get the bloopers out now. Now, earlier in the studio and in another video, we ground for French press using Baratza's suggested settings on the Baratza Encore ESP, and that's what we've got right here is our coffee grounds from grinding for French press. The suggested setting for French press was the 32 mark on the adjustment ring, and we found that this is pretty good. This we think is maybe a little too fine for French press. We decided that we would probably step that up just a little bit, but this could all depend on the type of coffee beans that you're using, how long you grind, things like that. But let's show you what we've got from grinding for espresso. Again, this was with our adjustment ring set at 15. And I gotta say, that's pretty darn good, everyone. And it's very, very consistent. I don't see any breakage. There's no big chunks of beans or anything like that. It's incredibly consistent. It's incredibly fine. And remember, this was at the 15 mark. So this is pretty impressive. This shows you what this device and that new M2 Burr is capable of. And this is with only setting to 15 and not really doing anything else. I didn't play with it. I didn't go backwards and forwards and etc. I just went straight to 15, which Baratza suggests, and ground with that. And that is pretty darn good because I'll tell you what, if you're like me, and I don't know how many of you are, but if you're like me, I usually end up having to grind for espresso by hand. And this takes forever. It takes forever. It makes a great cup, and I love to do it, but it takes a long time to grind by hand. And a lot of automatic machines that you could get for your home are not really going to give you that fine a grind with that much consistency. So I gotta say, I know I said almost perfect in the intro of this video. I think this is pretty darn perfect. This is really spot on. It's super duper fine. I would be really interested, honestly, to see what this would do if I went even lower, because I feel like I might not even be able to see the coffee grounds because they'd be super small. So that I'm really impressed by. It's not often I get super impressed by grinders because I see a lot of them, but that is super duper impressive. Before I get to my bottom line on the Baratza Encore ESP, I just wanted to mention what I talked about a little earlier before grinding, and that was how to make use of the Espresso Catch cup with a portafilter. You'll notice that the Espresso Catch cup has a rubber gasket on top of it. Now this is so that if you have a portafilter that is a little wider, has a bit of a wider circumference, you can use this to fit that space, but most of us probably won't have that if we have a portafilter device at home. So what you'll find is that you can just place the Espresso Catch cup right on top of your portafilter if you take that gasket off. And that's a pretty cool little innovation, I think, with the device. And it's something that I just wanted to mention because I think that there's some folks that are going to be out there saying, well, what's the deal with the Espresso Catch cup if you could just grind regular espresso grounds into your regular catch cup? Good point. That's pretty much what this comes down to, is being able to put it directly onto a portafilter. So that's pretty cool. So what is my bottom line with the Baratza Encore ESP coffee grinder? I think it's really super awesome. I have to say, I'm definitely impressed. I've reviewed a lot of coffee grinders. I mean, a lot, everybody. You can check out the videos wherever they are right around here and check out all the other reviews that we've done on coffee grinders. And there's some innovations here and there, and there's new things for greatly adjusting the grind or other little things. But I haven't really seen one that really hits the mark on an espresso grind like this. So I gotta say, if you are an espresso lover, if you like really finely ground coffee, Turkish, etc., things like that that require getting down to that super, super fine grind, and you don't want to do all the work of grinding by hand like I do, this is going to be the device, everyone. It's really great. If you like to grind for other types of beverages like our favorite French press or others, I think you might need to play a little bit with your grind settings ever so slightly, because again, we did find that setting to the 32 mark gave us a grind that was good and would certainly work for French press, but could be a little more coarse, so you might need to play with that a little bit. I think there's definitely attention to detail when it comes to espresso here. Baratza really heard all of us coffee geeks and nerds. They heard our feedback, and they made the changes that I think have really been needed. That new gasket is awesome. The M2 Burr is also really awesome. The ability to grind for espresso. As for cons, I think maybe the only one is, like I say, is that the Espresso Catch cup, when it's just simply placed there inside of the little tray, there is some spillage, there is a little bit of coffee ground dust getting everywhere, but there are ways to easily work around that. So like I say, I know I said almost perfect in the intro. I'm going to say it's perfect for espresso. It's really spot on, especially for being an automatic grinder. And I'll tell you what else is perfect about it that I think is the price point, which at the making of this video is $199, which is really great. I mean, that is excellent for a great all-around device with solid burrs that should really last for essentially a lifetime as long as you take care of it, and that's really easy to use. I think that's a great price point for this device, and especially all the different grind types that it can do. So I gotta say, way to go, Baratza. Thank you so much. Thank you for sending this over to us in the studio so that I could check it out. I've had a lot of fun with it. I am going to play around a little bit, try some other grinds. Like I say, I'm really interested to see what happens if I go super duper fine, because that is crazy, and that's 15 marks. So going lower, we'll see. Who knows? It may just not come out because it disappeared into the atmosphere. But thank you, Baratza, for sending this over. Thank you guys for tuning in and checking out all of our videos here on FrenchPressCoffee.com. If you've got questions, if we missed something, if you want to know more, make sure to get in touch in the comment section of this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn on our notifications, and visit us at FrenchPressCoffee.com, where you can ask us questions and check out all these great products, including the Baratza Encore ESP when it's available. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm Brian with FrenchPressCoffee.com. I'll see you next time, and take care. Did you like that video? Want more? Give us a thumbs up right down here. And now, subscribe, and I'm going to give you an awesome coffee quote. Don't worry, I'll wait. It's right there. Got it? Got it? All right. All the coffee in Colombia won't make me a morning person.